want to review. All right. And in the end, I'm going to give you at least 10 minutes in the end to give you to do teaching evaluation. So now it's 5:30, so we have about 1 hour. So I will do 50 minutes review, okay? And after that, so I will stop at around 5:20, okay? And then your 10 minutes should be enough for you to do teaching evaluation. Now let me open up the review list. Make it bigger. Okay. So those are basically just listing what you should know. So lecture note 10, 11, 12 are the things which is pretty new stuff. And then 6 to 9 is covered by exam 2, but those things, you know that they are part of this, what we do in the last period, like a while loop or for loop. You cannot do any programming, any methods without using those, right? Without using those. So basically, those nodes you probably need to go over them too. But before that, I think most of those should be very fundamental, should be very basic. Okay. And then those are the objects we did in this period. So for example, we know how to use timer, how to use a file object, how to use screen reader, writer, open file dialog, save file dialog, dialog result, message box buttons, time span, list view. So this list view, we spend quite a amount of time to do that, right? So those are the objects we learned in this second period. And then in terms of basic principles, we cover the constructors and the global variables, properties, overloading. No, we did not do overriding, so I will skip that. No overriding, just overloading. Overloading, right? So basically, 2 or more functions can have the same name if they have different signatures, right? That feature is called overloading. And then we spend a lot of time on methods, basically just functions, okay? So this is something that if you take classes like in computer science, like C++ or some other code like a Python or some some of the programming languages, you probably just stop there, stop creating methods or functions. You do not create classes. So you'll stop that. So method creating functions and methods will be, the most you will do in there. Okay, so create methods using out of reference parameters, if else, decision, switch, while loop, for loop. Okay, so we mentioned those, and then creating calling methods. Okay, and the signatures, overloading, type parameters. Parameters just like inputs, right? And the arguments, so what is argument? Arguments just like when you're calling those functions, you provide data to those parameters, and those data will be called arguments. Okay. And exception handling, so if a function cannot, for example, if you divide by 0, so how do you handle that, right? So yesterday we did that. So what if you withdraw money, but you don't have a sufficient fund, then you have to throw exceptions, right? And then we understand what is public, private means, right? So public just means that that function or variable will be only accessible to that class, to the class that function is in, or the variable is in. Okay. For the public, that means the function or variable will be accessible to other classes, to outside of the classes. So that's public. And then we talk about encapsulation principles. The basic idea is that you should all make all your data to be private, make your data to be private. And then if you want other places to be able to access your data, then you change it. You set those, make those data available through properties. Okay. And then functions should be generally public because the functions will be called by other classes. But unless you have functions that you do not want other people to see, to access, then you can also make them private. Okay, but in general, functions can be made public. And then we learn how to process text files. Okay, and the programming skills. Let me say what are the skills you need to know. So make sure you know how to create a custom classes. Okay, how to declare instance variables. Those are just the variables for the entire class. For example, if you create a dog class, then dog will have a breed, have a name, have a birthday, right? So those will be called instance variables. And then you need to use constructors to initialize those instance variables, okay? And then you create and use properties for those variables, okay? And the read, write, and the process data file in the text file, data in the text file, and then use the message in the file dialogues, and then create and call methods, including with or without inputs, okay? With or without inputs and no output, and with or without inputs but multiple outputs, and with output parameters, with reference parameters. Okay, so those are the basic skills with the I'm looking for the basically expected you to know to have. Okay, signature. Signatures just include the name of function name. So let me just say if I give you a function like this, okay, I'm going to just draw it directly on the screen. Suppose I have function say void do something, okay, and then say I have parameters a string x or integer y. So this part is a signature. Does not include this part, okay? There's a return type. So if function does not return anything, that's a void, right? So basically this function name along list with list of parameters. But for the parameters, only the parameter type matters, not parameter name. So parameter name, this could be x, y, or could be a, b, it does not matter. Okay, it's just type. Okay, so that's signature. And these are parameters. Okay, this x, y are parameters. And then argument. So if I'm going to call this function, so I would say do something like that. So do something, all right? And then I need to provide data to this, right? So for example, for first data is say Joe. Second piece of data I say is something like 29. So those will be called arguments. Okay. So when you call this function, that will be the data you provide to the parameters will be called arguments. Okay, and then outer parameters, reference parameters. Okay, so we did that just in this period, right? Summarize features of constructor comparing to methods. So basically, if you have a class, let's say class, a person, right? Then curly brackets, the curly brackets, right? So then you're going to have a constructor. The constructor is going to have the same name as the class name, and the constructor can have parameters. Okay, can have list of parameters, but a constructor does not have a type. So here you should not have like a void or a single or like an integer or double in here in front of it. So there's nothing like that before that. Okay, and the constructor is always public. Okay, so public person, and then have a list of parameters. So that would be just typical constructors look like. Okay, so it looks like a function, right? Because it has inputs, outputs. However, it's not like a function because it does not return anything. And also in terms of purpose, constructor is mainly utilized to initialize those global variables for the instance variables. Okay, so for example, a person may have a name, a person may have a birth date, a person may have like ID. So constructors are used to initialize those instance variables. Okay, and you know what? So most of these questions will help you to do multiple choices. So let's move on to let me just do some code related to code. Okay, so true or false? 17. Out parameter can be used on either left-hand side or right-hand side of argument operation of the function body. So in other words, if you have a function, let's just say void do something, okay, and then you have an out parameter, say out, say double x, and then you have function body here, okay. So the question is, you can put x on the left-hand side and also right-hand side, yes or no? For example, can you do something like that? X equals x plus 1. So be careful with this. In general, when you have outer parameters, this outer parameter may not have value. Okay, so if you put x into right-hand side, then it's very likely that this one does not have value at all. So then the code will crash. Okay, so will not work. Okay, so in general, x, those outer parameters will be only on the left-hand side, and then you can put values into it. But of course, if you have x before, so you get a variable, and then you make x equals to 0 first, and then say x equals to x plus 1, that will work. Okay, so so the question to this one is, in general, is no, but in special cases, yes, you can have this output parameters initialized first, and then you can just put on the right-hand side. Okay, and now let's do 18, true or false. For the method do it, integer x, out parameter y, and this is the correct way to call the function. So let me see. Okay, so first of all, we need the input. So x. So do we have input? Yeah, we have 23 as input. So do it 23. That's fine. And then we need to have a variable for output. So that is z. So that is integer z, and that's the integer, right? That's integer, and this is integer. So they are matching. So then we say do it 23 and out z. And I think this is correct. This is true. Okay. Now let's do. Now, if you have questions, you stop me. Okay. Otherwise, I'll just move on. Next question: what's wrong with the following code in creating a method private integer get age and then say out integer y and y equals to 24? Do you see anything wrong there? What is wrong? You see anything wrong? Well, if you use outer parameters to return, generally you should not use this function to return anything. So this should be void. Okay, generally. But if you do, if you want a function to return something, say like put integer here, then inside the function body you should have some code like return something. You see that? So that is missing. So you can this function can be corrected in two ways. First, you can just get rid of the integer and then make that some, and then that will be right. Or you still keep that integer, but then in the end you have to return something. You know, you have to have a statement say return y or return something else. Okay, so that is that's what happens. Okay, so I am going to move on since we have a limited amount of time, but let's try to do something. Okay, let's do this code analysis. I think those questions also those questions were likely to appear either hands-on or maybe multiple choices. Okay, so here we have a method. The method is using reference parameter. We have reference parameter x and y. Okay, and then the function is just simply change x to 3 and y to 5. Okay, now let's say suppose I'm going to call the function. So this function call. So what does do is initialize w to 0 and v to 200, and then make those as arguments to be inputs for. So do it reference y w and the reference v. So what this function do is say, this function, okay, do it function. My input for x is at this location at w. Okay, and my input for y is at this location. Okay, so you declare those two variables, right? So you have initialize this w here, which is 0, and then you have v, which is 200. Okay, so this function call is just simply tell the function. So tell this function just say do it. My input for x and y are respectively in here and here. Okay. And then I call you to do calculations for me. So then what happens after that? Okay. So another program called that. Then so the question is, what will be w plus v after this function call? So after the function call, this function will come to this place, make this x and make this y, and then it's going to change this x to 3. So this will be changed to 3. And then y will be changed to 5, So original content 0 or W or V has been changed. Okay, so now this is 3 and this is 5. So what is W plus V? Is going to be 8, right? So that is so actually this is a very good question, and then we test it. We basically tells you the concept of reference parameters. Okay, no questions, right? And this question, I think we already did. And let's say what's wrong with the following code. Okay, so now let's say we are going to do, say this function is not return anything, it's a void. Okay, and then using reference parameter double salary, and then there's still a typo missing. All right, so you need a double here. Okay, so that is one mistake. And then let's say double result equals salary multiplied by that, and that part is fine. No, not fine, because you cannot, hold on, let me see. Yeah, you can declare variable result, okay, result equals to that, because the result is not declared here. Okay, so that's fine. But then you return, that return is not matching this. You see that? There's return, because this function is not return anything. So what it should have instead is, say, salary equals to result. Because you are using the salary as output parameter to return the result. So make sure that you set the salary equals to whatever result you calculated from the first equation. Okay. So there are a couple. There are two. So basically, there are two mistakes, right? So the first mistake is you missed the data type for the rate. Secondly, you should not have return here. Okay. Question 3: what is wrong with the following code called function do double x? Okay, let's say so this function just have one reference parameter. So it says double x and then do it reference x. So what is missing? When you have a reference parameters, the argument must be declared and also initialized. So this x is declared, however, it's not initialized. So in other words, it does not have a memory location yet. You see that? So memory that it has memory location, does not have data in there yet. So remember, reference parameter typically used to carry data in and also out. So what data is to be carried in? That data is not there. Okay, so this is not initialized. So it's not given the initial value, in other words. So you declare variable x, okay, then you have to put a value into that first, okay? And then you call the function. Okay, then question number 4, what is wrong with the following code when call the function do it reference integer x? Okay, so here, so we're going to declare variable, declare argument for x, and that should be integer, but that's not integer, that's wrong. Okay, that's string. Okay, so that's why that's what it is. That's what it is wrong. That is what is wrong. Okay. And so data type mismatching. And question 5, what's wrong with the following code? I think this is the one we did in the previous class, previous review. So you are returning integer, but this is not integer here. See that? So that's wrong. Okay. All right, hands-on programs. Let me just take a look, see whether we have any questions and we can do it. The first one is create a method. If you're given total number of seconds, I think this was your homework, right? Total number of seconds, or maybe it's a class example. We try to get whole hours as outer parameter, whole minutes, and the whole number of seconds. So that's what I think we already did that. The second function is, say, if you have create a method which will accept 2 whole number inputs and then return their sum and the differences using reference or outer parameters. Okay, so let's just say if I want to do reference parameter, so what do we do here? Let me just do it on here. So let's just say I would do void, okay, sum or diff. That's the name, right? And then I'm going to say double, no, it's just reference. So let me just cross that out. So R reference, and then double U, double A, and then reference, double D. Okay, then close that. Okay, then I'm going to write a code. Okay, so let's just say I want to use A to return the sum and B to return their difference. Okay, so first of all, I have to make sure that one of value is already A or B, so either one has to be stored somewhere first as temporary. So let's say double temp equals to A. Okay, and then we can make A equals to A plus B. That's the sum, and then make B equals to temp, because you cannot use the A anymore. A has been changed. Temp minus B. Okay, so then there we go. So then this function will return sum or difference, sum or the minus, back using the original two parameters. Okay, create a function that splits the full name like that into first and last name. So basically, the function is pretty simple. You just need to create the return is going to be, so let's say you're going to have one, say like a string, which is a full name, right? But then you're going to split those into first name, last name. So basically, you're going to have an array, right? String, just two parts. Okay, so then let's just say that's split. So then you write a function. So basically, just say string square bracket, that's array, and then say split. Okay, and then string, and then say full name. Okay, and the function body is very simple, just return f name dot split, and then using single quote, using space. Okay, there we go. So that. Okay, and then and question number 4, create a method function that returns the standard deviation and average. I think we did in class, we did an example like that. So actually we did more, right? We did, so we are given, so here given 3 numbers, but we actually handle like a list of numbers. So like a calculate the max, mean, standard deviation, all statistics, we can use that data. And then return, use all the parameters, we did that. And then next question, 5. So create a method payroll. So you're given current earnings and the tax rate, and then you want to return what is year-to-date earnings, and then what is year-to-date tax. So the question, if I do it here, I'm going to just write it here. Okay, so this function is going to be void. Okay, so I'm going to just add a void here in front of this. Okay, and then parentheses here, curly brackets here. And then just simply just 2 lines of code. So basically, year-to-date earning plus equals. Okay, that means equals to that plus just the current earning. Current earning. So this is very limited space for me to write the whole thing here. The current earning. So let me see whether I have a better way to do it. So let me just do that using whiteboard here. So I would do it here with a new one. Okay. So so you create a function body, and that will be void. Okay, and then say payroll. Okay, and the parentheses, I'm going to skip those. Okay, and then you write code. So the code, you just need to make sure that you need to have output parameters. Okay, output return. Okay, so basically, what do we need to return? First, year to date earning. Okay, equal to year to date earning plus this current plus the current earning, right? Current earning. Okay, semicolon. And then there's a one input, one output is handled, and the second output is year-to-date text. So year-to-date text. That would be year-to-date text plus current earning multiplied by tax rate. By tax rate. So by tax rate. Okay, and there we go. So this function just get those outputs handled. All right, and the next one we already did in class. So I'm going to skip. And then number 7, okay. Number 7, you create a text file that list of all 50 states, or 50 state names, and then create a form with a combo box that display the state names for the file. Okay, that's a good example. So let's just use that example to demonstrate file processing again. So I am going to first of all create text. Let's do the new program first, okay, for the Visual Studio. Okay, let's just say we'll create a new project. And the forms project is next. Okay, so let's just say that is a review, the final review. Okay. Let's create a button. I'll save that to desktop. So that way I can find where they are. Next, select photo, let's create. Okay, so in here, right? Okay. All right, so now let's say for this program is Alexa stop. So what we do is first I will create a combo box. Combo box. Okay, let's give a name for the combo box. CBO state. Okay, states. Pretty simple, right? Okay. So now I need to create a text file. So let's use Notepad. So go to your computer, find a Notepad. Okay. So let's try to put some states in here. Let's say Ohio, and then Illinois, and then New York, and then New Jersey. I'm not going to type all 50, so just start just 4, okay? And then let's save. Let's save. Let me say, where do I save that? Save as. So where do I save you're going to use dialog, you can save to anywhere. So I don't think we have time to do that. So I'm going to save inside the program. So go to desktop, which is the final review. Open that, and then open bin directory, and open debug directory. Let's put it inside there, okay? So I'm going to just name that as states.txt, states.txt, okay? Save that. And now I think we're ready to open this file, okay? So we can just put this away, or we can just, doesn't matter. Close that. All right, so now let's say how can we call the function to call something to open the file. So of course you need to attach to an event. So let's just do something simple. Let's say if somebody click on this text box, or click on this combo box, click on the combo box, and then you open the file to read data, load data. Okay, so you say that with your cell phone, right? Sometimes you click the button, click the combo box, and then the data will be loaded. Okay, so we can do that. Okay, so I will go to select this combo box, and then go to select the event, which is click right here. Okay, you see that, and double click, and now let's write the code. Okay, so we need to use string reader. And to be able to use string reader, we have to use get the using system.io, right? So so far you know why we need those, right? So we did several instances with that. First, to get a string reader and a file, those kind of objects, we need to use this package. Okay, and the last class we did something else, I think, with drawing, right? So we also need to do system.drawing so that way we can get like a color and a pen, brush, all those type of things. Okay, so now after that, now we are ready to code the click event. So what we do is, first of all, create a string reader. It's pretty mechanical thing here. So basically, just three, 4 lines of code. So let's just say my reader. Okay, so remember the reader is going to hold your data, okay? Equals to file, then dot open text. So open text file. Okay, and then let's just take your file name here. So remember we put the file inside the bin directory, inside in a place that with your executable. So we can just use file name without using any like a file path, like a C drive, my directory, blah, 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 those type of things. So stace, I think it's called stace.txt, stace.txt, right? So let me double check on that. And maybe, where's text file? Text file right here. Let me see. It's called stace.txt, right? Stace, yeah, S-T-A-T-E-S, okay? So stace.txt. Okay, then all right, so now we have a reader. So now we are ready to read a line at a time. So let's create a like a line text, say a line, okay? And then we are ready to read one line. So a line is equal to my reader dot read the line. Okay, so read the first line. You know what happened? The pointer will be automatically advanced to the second one. So now we just need to process this line. So what we need to do is I'm going to just add that into a combo box. So I'm going to just create a list first, and then put data into list, and then we put the list into the combo box. Okay, so let's create the list. So list of text, right? So let's say list stace. That's the name of the list. Equals to new list. So after that, we can just use a loop to. And if this line is not empty, we add that to list. Okay, so we'll do while a line is not equal to null, then we add that line to the list. So list stace, list stace, the LST stace, but add, so add a line. Okay. And then you add that line you already have, but now you need to read again, right? So you need to go to next line, say read a line equals to my reader dot read the line. Okay. And then you go back to while loop to check, say whether the line is empty or not. If it's not empty, you add it to the list again, and then you read the next line. Continue until finally you get a line equals to null. Then the loop will be broken. And after the loop is broken, then you read all the lines. You have read all the lines, and then you can just use this to as a data source for your combo box. Okay, CBO space data source equals to list. Okay. So it's pretty simple, right? So we need to handle read data from text files. That this few lines is pretty much mechanical. So basically, create a string reader and create a variable to hold one line, and then read one line, and then use a while loop. Okay, and then inside is just process that line you just read. If it's not missing, then just process it here. Our job is simply just add that to the list. Okay, so those pretty much mechanical steps. Okay, so So let's test it, and I hope it should be working. There we go. So now we have a combo box. At this point, does not have any data, but if I click on it, there we go. So we get data list, the data loaded here. Okay, there we go. So then this function, this question is just handled like that. So I'm going to stop that. Okay, so now let's move on to the next question. Let's see whether we have more time to do that. Okay, I think I have a few more minutes. Okay, so that's question 7. Okay, we did that. And then question 8, you create auto class with the following. So basically, you're going to have data members like those, a constructor, a method to compute the number of days between auto date and ship date, and a method to check if auto is promised within 1 day for shipping. And then you create a form to do the following. So let's try to do the custom class here. Okay, just do the class, just class. All right, so I'm going to use the same program that I just created. So go to project and add a class. Okay, and then inside, then we're going to create a class called auto.cs. Okay. All right, so you have automatically create a class called class auto, and then basically you can write things inside here. Okay, so let's just make that a class as public first. Okay. And now let's try to declare instance variables. So we have OID, auto date. So those would be private, right? So OID, let's just say integer, OID. Okay. And then auto date, so private, then data time. And then let's just call that auto date, okay? Given name, auto date. And then auto amount, so private, double. So at this point, it should be very comfortable with declaring variables, right? So double, let's say that is all amount. Okay, and the promise date, private, then data time. And then there's a promise date, P date. Okay. And then let's do ship date. So private, data time again. And then ship date. So basically, let's just use S date. Okay. Anything else? Nothing? Okay. So now let's try to create a constructor to initialize auto date. And today as auto date, 2 days from today as promise date. Okay, let's just do that. So let's do constructor. Okay, so constructor will be public. Okay, and then what? Public, and then the name of the constructor will be same as this class. Okay, so that would be auto. Okay. And then there's no void or whatever before that. And then we need to provide the parameters. So we need to provide what parameter we need. So constructor will generate random number as integer as OID, and then today as auto date, and then 2 days from today as a promise date. So I'm going to just generate ID. So ID will be generated by random number. And today so there's no need for parameters actually, right? Because everything can be obtained from a computer. Okay, so we are going to generate a random number. So random, my generator equals to new random. Okay, and now let's try to create OID using the random number generator. So mygen. Next, okay. So let's try to create a random number from 1000 to 9999, something like that. Okay, so random number generated. Okay. Okay, so the generate initial from 1000 to 9000. Okay, and then we can say auto date. will be equal to data time dot null. Okay. And then what about pdate? Pdate will be equal to today's date, data time, and now let's say we can add the days, right? So just add the days here. And how many days? 2. There we go. Okay, so now this constructor is default constructor because it does not have any parameters. And there we go. So this is done, right? And now let's do maybe just do one method here. So here this is a method that will just compare the number of days between order date and ship date. Okay, so that is easy. So public. So what method is going to do? It's going to compute the number of days. So the result is going to be integer. Okay, return result is return integer, and then return days between order date and ship date. Okay, so let's just say, what is that called? Supply chain people, what is that called? From order to ship, the time is called. There's a special name for that. So let's say let's just use days in between, non-professional ways to call that days in between, okay? So do we need any parameters? Do we need to know what is order date? What is ship date? We don't, because we already have order date here and we already have the ship date here. So there's no need for parameters. Look at that. Curly brackets. Now we need to find the number of days. We need to use time span. Okay, let's TS equals to shape date minus order date or O date. Okay. So shape date is later, right? And then your larger number first minus the smaller number. Okay, and then return TS dot days. Okay, so and then this function is finished. Okay, and then you just need to finish the rest for your review. I think we are ready to stop. Let me ask you, we have a few more minutes. Let me see whether you have any questions at this point. Oh, by the way, yesterday I did kind of like pretty much like a half a day, 4 or 5 hours to meet with each individual students and ask them, say, what for database class, whether they have any questions or concerns or anything they want to tell me. And then I also pick up one of their previous homework and reviewed with the student, with each student to say, you know, what are the points, what are the questions, what are the problems they had. Then this afternoon, a couple of students asking me to say whether I can do that same thing again tomorrow. What I'm going to do is this time I'm going to email everybody, and then if you want to meet me tomorrow, you tell me what time you want to meet, and then we can set up a WebEx meeting tomorrow to do that too. Okay, so just watch for that email tonight, and I will do that. All right. Any questions you may have at this point? No questions? If there's no questions, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to give you enough time to finish teaching evaluation. So I'm going to stop recording first.